So I got an opportunity to meet President Trump at Dover when I was waiting to receive Shannon's remains. And I personally, I thought that Trump was just going to come and, shake our hands and say he was sorry and, kind of check the box. But I actually got to spend 10, 15 minutes, just me and him in a room like this talking. And I, basically told him what we talked about before. I was just like, hey, your gut instincts are correct. Like, you don't know who I am. At the time I had like hair down on my shoulders and a crazy beard. And so I probably looked like a crazy person, but I was like, I'm one of your CIA guys. I think initially I actually messed up and he asked me what I did and it just rolled off my tongue. I was like, I work for the State Department. Even Trump was like, you don't look like a guy who works for the State Department. So, but I wanted to tell him, I was like, look, I've been doing this really since this thing started. And like, your instincts are right. You're just being thwarted at the mid to senior levels, in a way that I find rather alarming. And, he had just lost his Secretary of Defense had just resigned. So I personally didn't think I was telling him anything that he didn't already know. I kind of thought he was just humoring me, which I appreciated. I also appreciated that he met with us all individually. There was 4 families there and Trump spent 10, 15 minutes with each family, and it wasn't scripted. The Secret Service didn't even really screen me. Like, I was in a room and next thing you know, Trump walks around the corner and it was just us together for 10, 15 minutes. And, he gets portrayed a certain way in the media as being, crass and kind of cold blooded. But with Trump and the questions he was asking me and just the reaction that he was having to being there at Dover, I really felt like he's a guy who did not like the fact that people died under his watch. Like, he felt responsible. Cause you've probably been around a lot of leaders too in combat, and there's kind of 1 or 2 routes they can go. They can stay connected with the feelings, the fact that we're losing people, or they can kind of become, very cold blooded about it and wall themselves off in a way that it doesn't even affect them. Like, maybe they'll think, oh, does this affect my politics? Does this affect my evaluation report? But with Trump, I saw somebody who legitimately, he did not like the fact that we were losing people, in Syria. And so I thought that interaction was that, and that'd be the end of it. But a couple of weeks later, I actually got a call from, some guys on his team, and they said, hey, we don't know what you said to the boss, but he wants to hear more of what you had to say. Will you come out and chat with us? So got to go back out to DC, met with Jared Kushner and a couple other folks there. Wrote a couple they're like, what are your recommendations? And so I wrote like a white paper essentially on, what I thought essentially about the status of the war on terror at the time. Like, we need to be getting the heck out of here. Like, Trump's instincts are right. Like, don't listen to all the so-called experts. So kind of established that relationship with them. And then the 2020 campaign was ramping up. So I did some stuff for the Trump 2020 campaign. And then I got another call. I went back out to DC and they were like, hey, Kushner and his team were like, hey, if we offer you a job in the second Trump administration, would you come work here? And I was like, did not expect that, because usually the guys that go and work at the White House or whatever, you're talking colonels and generals and, that cast of people. But I have a mentality, hey, if you can serve your country and your country calls, like, if you can do it, you should do it. And so I said, yeah, if you guys want to hear what I have to say, let me help. I'd be honored to. So I was going to go work somewhere, maybe back in the IC or maybe at the NSC. Then the election went the way that it did, but I was already, pretty vocal on speaking out. And that's right after that. That's when my congresswoman decided to vote for Trump's impeachment. So to me, it just felt like, and it still feels this way to me. I mean, it really feels like we're losing the country. And as
I don't think it's just you, man.